a day, but let me tell you, for the next 90 minutes, you are all ours. And we're so glad to have you here. Welcome to Strong Words 53, 93, 173. My name is Larry Dean Harris, and that doesn't matter at all. We've got David, Haerle, and Edendale. Give it up.
Don't forget to watch the free show. Thank you.
David, Haerle, and Edendale. All right, I got my act together backstage. We are Strong Words 71, if you can stand it. 8 years of insanity, and let me tell you, this is our favorite gig because we don't have to wipe the chairs down or put them away when we're done or take out the trash. It's our favorite thing. I never leave the house without two things. One, my inhaler, and two, my library card. You know what you can do with your library card? You can go home and download the song you just heard on the library's Freegal software platform. It's free, it's legal, David gets a cut, we checked, and it's one of the many reasons we love the library, which currently isn't on the presidential budget for 2021. Along with the NEA, the EPA, the EIEIO, write your people. So, we're back in the Temple of Stories. It's sacred. It's sacred to me. I've been going to the library since I was a little kid, since it was a bookmobile. Remember the bookmobile? Oh, Midwesterners love ya. Okay, so because it's a sacred space, can we have a little light in the house? I need to see my virgins. Who's never been to a Strong Words show? Wow. You're in for something. All right, now I need to see or hear from those who have indulged in the glories of the stories. Who are my people? Love that. And last but not least, who are my story whores? The ones who just can't get enough, who come back again and again? Thought so. All right, those of you who have been to the show know we have some really important rules. That's right. There are no rules, but there is a request. I want us to do something so completely like insane and subversive. I'd like you to take your phone out. Ready? For the next 90 minutes, let's just turn them off. We never do this. We always allow it. But just today, wouldn't it be nice to know that there's nothing out there? There's no, war and Mitch McConnell and, Army heroes being treated poorly. That'd be great. Appreciate you. Now, stories. Oh my gosh. She's my work wife. She's the hottest work wife ever. And she's also the smartest, and you gotta kind of hate her, love her for that. But we teach storytelling together, we tour together, and she's just an absolute delight. And I couldn't think of a better person to open our show with that all-important first story. Please welcome Marlene and Nichols.
Hello, everybody. Oh, welcome to Strong Words. You're in for a treat tonight. I am going to talk to you about something that happened to me a few months ago in my house. I'm scanning FEMA's earthquake preparedness checklist, trying to figure out what I have in the house that I can quickly pull together for an emergency to-go bag. Now, my mother is on her tiptoes behind me, also scanning the list, and she says, "But Marlene, how much chocolate does it say we need?" And you know what? It doesn't. It doesn't say anything about chocolate. She just looks at me confused. But that's not much of a list, then, is it? She goes hunting around in her purse and she pulls out 2 after 8 chocolates, 2 bonbons, and a box of Wilhelmina mints and starts lobbing them at me and says, "Of course you know, we will need more." "Wait, but what about your clothes?" "It's not that kind of bag, Mom. It's just a to-go bag. It's meant to hold us for a couple of days in case there's an emergency, until help arrives." "Well, whatever happens, you're going to need at least 1 evening gown." And she disappears upstairs into my closet. And it's taken me months to convince my 80-year-old German mother to come and visit me from her home in my hometown in Memphis to Los Angeles, because every time I invite her, she uses California's latest natural disaster as an excuse for why she won't come. "But Marlene, aren't you having a drought? Wasn't there a mudslide on the PCH? Isn't Malibu on fire? Again?" And I finally get her here, and the day after she arrives, there is a 6.4 earthquake, not 100 miles away, which she experiences by herself because I am at yoga. Now, the top story on every single news channel is like, "SoCal set to experience more earthquakes. Could the next one hit before lunch? How prepared are you?" Yeah, so according to this list, not very. I've got granola bars, I've got Band-Aids, some batteries from the junk drawer, my lip gloss, a single can of tuna, and it's all spread out on the dining room table, and they are all mocking me. I swear to you, the tuna can is like, "Yeah, I don't think she's gonna make it." And then my lip gloss is like, "Where are we going? This is so random." My mom comes back, she drops an armful of garment bags on top of my supplies, and she unzips them like inspecting gown after gown. "If there's an emergency, Marlene, and the rescue workers have to decide who to help first, I want you in a strapless number that screams, 'Take me!'" And as if on cue, Earthquake the sequel hits. And it's way more powerful than the other one. So we drop to our knees and we crawl under the table, and immediately I start praying. I'm like, "Please, God, please, do not let me die in the valley. And please don't let me kill my mother." Meanwhile, she is next to me, tapping the floorboards and singing. And she's singing, Ich bin die Fischerlola, der Lieblings der Saison. Mom, are you okay? Oh, sorry. I sing in translation. The boys all love my music, I can't keep them away. Welcome to Cabaret Weimar, LA. And then she just pats my hand and she's like, oh, don't worry, Marlene, I'm fine. This all just reminds me of the war. Oh my God, not the war. To be fair, my mother was born right into the Second World War, right into Berlin, a city that ends up being 80% destroyed. And it's colored her whole life, like it colors many of the children who have to live through war today. It's even colored my life because I've really been a good girl my whole life. Well, okay, mostly, within reason. And I've done that because I never wanted her to have any sort of added trauma that I put on her. But somehow, here we are, under the table, fingers crossed it's not the big one. You know, Marlene, I used to sing to my little sister during the bombings. Here we go. I was 4, so that meant she was maybe 3. I think of all of us, she was the most scared. And then when the planes came, we had to run down to the cellars. And the whole apartment building was down there. And some of the neighbors, they would promise her a spoonful of sugar if she sang. And then when the bombing stopped, we had to go back upstairs. And I would take her around to all the neighbors' apartments. And she would stand there in the doorway, tip back her head like she's a little bird. And they would pour the sugar right onto her tongue. And do you know, she never shared. Even then, hateful bitch. And then the earth grows quiet, and we crawl out from under the table, picking up all the gowns that have scattered across the floor. And she's like, Marlene, you have to pack something beautiful for the woman who is going to use this bag. The woman, that woman, that she may be walking away from everything she ever knows. That woman may not be coming back, and even if she does, she won't be the same. I own a lot of evening gowns. And so some of them have not actually been worn in public. You're welcome. But my emergency to go bag starts out as a backpack, and eventually it sort of evolves into this go bag mountain by the front door. And since my mom practically lives with a pincushion on her wrist, which seems like, between aftershocks, perfect time to see if everything still fits. So I strip down to my underwear, I put on a pair of heels, and my mom starts outlining my silhouette in pens. Oh, imagine, Marlene, I used to run through the streets of Berlin in 3-inch heels when I was 21. Imagine it? I can even hear it. I can hear it, heels clicking through checkpoints between the British sector, the French sector, the American sector, the Russian sector. She's sashaying her way through occupied city to some underground club. It's all very Cold War, film noir. Well, it wasn't that romantic, Marlene. But I was once going to catch the Straßenbahn in East Berlin, and then I saw this young man standing in the rain. And I ran to share my umbrella with him, and he invited me for coffee. Of course, he was too short for me, so nothing was going to happen. But it was something to do. And I sat next to him, and I remember I counted the raindrops that fell from his hair to his coat. And then these 2 police officers came into the cafe, Russian police, and we had to show our identification papers. And he looked at mine, and he said, West-Berliner, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. Go home. Now, as a young man, he walked me to the train, and he was very embarrassed. And it felt safer to be in motion on the train. And I ran like hell once I got back to the West, in heels. Go home, because what does that even mean anymore? As I step out of my dress, careful that the pins don't scrape, my mother grabs my arm. Marlene, there are eyes watching me. I look across the room, and the eyes that she's referring to belong to a lizard that's in my dining room. It's not an iguana. It's not a gecko. It's just big enough to be an existential problem that I have to take care of. But I am pretty naked. So I go and I reach for the dress, and my mother squeezes my arm harder and says, "Leave the dress. Get the broom." Luckily for me, the lizard is so Hollywood. He's like overly handsome, totally stoned. And as I sweep him, he's just like, "Hey, lady, how are you? Is this a party?" It's like, "Whoa, what's that? Hey, watch the broom." And I accidentally sweep him right onto my mother's foot, and she screams, "Harry?" "I'm sorry, have you two met?" "Yesterday. He was sunning himself outside. I told him we were not receiving visitors." So I hustle Harry out into the courtyard. I'm still half naked, but now I'm surrounded by palm trees, holding a broom. And my mother stops me before I get into the door and looks me up and down, and she says, "Do you think that you'll ever leave L.A.?" Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. It's every day. It's every day. It's every day. It's every day. But it's still here. It's every day. It's every. Now, the morning that she leaves, I wake up in bed and she's at my makeup mirror trying my latest eye cream. And she asked me, she's like, "How far back do you think this will take me?" And I said, "How far back do you want to go?" And she's like, "Well, that is the question, isn't it?" And then we start to hear this kind of chirping sound. It's not a chirping, more like a cheeping, like a cheep, like cheep, cheep. And my mother's like, "Oh, that's been going for a half hour already. Shut up, you stupid bird." It's not a bird. It's my carbon monoxide detector. I have a gas leak. So I call dispatch at the gas company, and the guy advises me, open all the windows, evacuate, but stay close because the technician they're sending out doesn't have a cell phone. And if we're not there, he'll just keep going. So basically, evacuate to the front yard. Now, while I'm on the phone panicking, my mother, very quietly, brings her suitcase down the stairs, puts it next to my to-go mountain, and pulls out her nightgown. She sits on the couch, and she starts cutting it into strips with my kitchen scissors. "Mama, what are you doing?" And she says, "I'm making rags, Marlene. I thought we would wash your windows while we wait." "We can't do that because I need to get you to a safe place." "And that would be where, Marlene?" "This is L.A. If we die, it's better to die in motion." And that's why 20 minutes later, I'm on a footstool washing LA off of my windows when this really handsome Latino man in like the blue uniform and the tool belt looks up at me through the screen door. And I say, "Hi, I'm Marlene. Are you looking for me?" And he says, "I am. I'm Ulysses." As in the Iliad and the Odyssey. I am in two epics. Now, I never know if the universe is trying to talk to me with like really beautiful metaphors or if it's straight up fucking with me. But I feel very calm that Ulysses is in my house. And my mother, who has always liked handsome men, immediately looks at me and she's like, "Marlene, you need more lipstick. Marlene, lipstick." Now, to refresh our like high school minds, Odysseus, known by his Latin name of Ulysses, is the king of Ithaca. And he's in Homer's epic poems. And he goes to fight the Trojan War for 10 years and then kind of pisses off the gods. And it takes him 10 years to get back home, but his 10 years are full of adventure. And now Ulysses is here focused on my carbon monoxide detector. It's curious. It's all quite curious. This detector is from 2010. It's made in China. They're only meant to last 10 years, and you're at the edge of the world with this one. However, the particular beeping you were listening to just means your battery's dying. Idiot! But let me check your appliances, since I'm here, to be safe. And then a few moments later, Ulysses comes back. Found it. I have a gas leak? Yes, it's your water heater. But that has nothing to do with the detector going off? Nothing at all. So your real name is Ulysses? Who named you? Who names their kid Ulysses? How did you get that name? And he says, well, my mother. Why? And my mother is sitting on the couch applying her own lipstick because I'm a wasteland. And she says to him, it's all about the journey, isn't it, Ulysses? It's all about the journey. And Ulysses looks at her and is like, sure. It's all about the journey. And maybe that's just it. It's all about the journey. Thank you very much.